Welcome. My name is Peter Strong. I'm a professional psychotherapist based in Boulder, Colorado, but I offer online psychotherapy via Skype for anxiety disorders and for the treatment of depression, and also for the treatment of agoraphobia. So many people like the idea of working with an online therapist to overcome agoraphobia. It means that you can have your sessions at home, which is an important consideration if you're afraid of leaving home in the first place. So online therapy for agoraphobia is a way of getting the help that you need to overcome this anxiety disorder. So I offer mindfulness-based help for agoraphobia, and this is very different than conventional talk therapy, and it actually helps you work with your emotions directly yourself. It teaches you how to change that habit of becoming identified with your emotional reactions, with your fear, anxiety or panic attacks. The biggest problem that most people suffering from anxiety or depression have to deal with is this problem of habitual reactive identification. This is where we simply become consumed by the emotion, we become overwhelmed by it, we become a prisoner of that emotional reaction. And this is a habit, this is a psychological habit. We become conditioned to identify with the emotion in that way, and it operates unconsciously. So in mindfulness therapy, we work on making it conscious. We actually work on making the anxiety much more conscious so that we can build a conscious relationship with the anxiety and learn to break this habit of reactive identification. So you can hold the anxiety in the mind as an object and not become identified with it and not become consumed by it. That is a very important, if not a totally essential part of recovery from any anxiety disorder, including agoraphobia. So I will teach you how to do this, how to change the relationship that you have with your emotions so that you gain greater power and they begin to heal and resolve themselves. I will teach you how to do this in great detail during our sessions together. One of the things that we look at in great detail also is the imagery of your emotions. So the imagery is what actually creates the emotion, the anxiety. This imagery typically is going to be very large, is going to be very close, and probably all-consuming. It's going to be overwhelming because it is very large in size. That imagery, the size of the emotion, is what actually makes the emotion work. When we actually get to see the imagery consciously using mindfulness, we can then exercise choice. We can begin to explore changing this habitual imagery. And the rule is, when you change the imagery, you change the emotion. So in order to heal anxiety, you have to change its imagery, how you see it in the mind. The other very important principle of mindfulness-based therapy is learning how to hold the anxiety and overcome the habit of reacting to the anxiety. So we usually react with aversion. We do not like the unpleasant feelings associated with anxiety, so we try to push it away. We try to avoid it. We try to distract ourselves from it in any way we can. But the rule here is any form of reactivity will simply feed the anxiety. It will not help it heal or resolve itself. So in order to promote healing, we must do the opposite to aversion or avoidance. We must develop a conscious and friendly relationship with the anxiety. You have to begin to learn how to treat it with compassion, to think of the anxiety as being like a child that is in pain and that has come to you for healing. This sets up the right conditions for healing. And this is another essential part of the healing process, developing the right relationship with your emotions that's based on friendliness, consciousness, and compassion. The more that you do this, the faster the anxiety heals itself. And with practice, you will begin to break free from the grip of anxiety, and you'll be able to extend your range of behaviors and move outside of that security zone that is usually where you try to hide from your anxiety. The other part of the mindfulness-based approach to healing anxiety and agoraphobia is to take on deliberate challenges, exposure therapy in a sense. But mindfulness-based exposure therapy is much more effective than classical exposure therapy. So this is where you will set up a schedule of small challenges that typically would create anxiety, but then you work on training yourself ahead of each challenge using mindfulness to find the emotion that gets triggered and then to help it heal by doing things like changing its size, changing its imagery, and changing your relationship to that anxiety that gets triggered in that situation. When you've done your training, then you do the challenge and you evaluate how much anxiety arises during the challenge, and then you might work on that anxiety afterwards as well, using mindfulness. So this way we're training with the anxiety rather than avoiding it. The more you do that, the more you train consciously with the anxiety, the more that it will heal itself, and you will help it heal through that process. So if you'd like to learn more about the mindfulness-based approach to healing anxiety, and you'd like help with your agoraphobia, then please contact me by email and let's schedule a therapy session via Skype. The mindfulness-based approach is very, very effective and very focused in its approach, and generally people see quite noticeable changes in a relatively short time. I usually say you should expect to see changes within 3 to 4 weeks when you start applying the mindfulness-based techniques that I will teach you during the sessions and that we will practice together during sessions. So if you'd like to learn more, please go to my website and then please contact me. Ask any questions you may have about online therapy for agoraphobia. I'll be happy to explain to you in more detail about how this works and Tell me about your situation, and I can explain to you how mindfulness therapy can help you in your particular situation. And then when you feel ready, we can schedule a session together, and you can see for yourself just how effective this approach can be. It's important that you take action, that you do not just accept your condition, that you work actively to overcome your fear and anxiety. This is what's necessary. You must be committed to change if you want to change. But if you are, then the mindfulness-based approach is one of the best approaches available. So please contact me. Thank you.